Yes.
And we are live. Another beautiful Sunday live. Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Welcome back. And Gordana and we're excited to talk about today's subject because today's subject, in alignment with all these recent Sunday lives we've been doing, today I think brings balance, and that's what the title is: balance, alignment, and unity. So
yes, yes, absolutely. And we love this topic because it's about the masculine and feminine energy and the dynamic interplay of these two energies within each and every one of us. So, oh, I am so looking forward to talking about this because
same,
I
same,
think
so great.
it's an important issue. It's an important thing to understand
Mm,
that we have both of these energies within us,
yeah,
and how do we use them? Can we use them in a mature way? Then we can become more whole in our exploration of reality.
right.
So, I mean, yeah, that's what we're going to do today.
It's gonna be beautiful. Um, all these principles I've been finding myself remembering or being in conversation with people just throughout the week and reminding them or talking about these principles that we've been talking about. And
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, that makes so much sense." Like I had a work call and I was talking about cause and effect and the law of causation, and like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, so what are you bringing to the energy? And I was coaching them on how to be emotionally prepared for their meeting coming up that they were a little nervous about.
Mm.
And I think at the end of the day, it took away from me that when we are in anxiety, when we're in fear, when we're not in our
Mm.
body, we miss this beautiful opportunity to be the change agent, be the
Mhm.
grounded peace that every person is desiring to feel, like that grounded peace. And we can bring that wherever we go. And then people feel safe in our presence, welcomed in our presence, heard and seen in our presence. And that's where beautiful relationships and dynamics are made. And
Yes, absolutely. And but we have to be conscious of the relationship between ourselves first,
mm,
because the relationship that we have with ourselves is always mirrored out to every relationship we have in our lives. So if we understand the relationship between the masculine energy going through us and the
yes,
feminine energy going through us, and knowing when to use which, that creates a space for others to see themselves as whole, just as we can see ourselves as whole.
mm,
If we do not understand that there are two energies going through us, then we miss the target of this.
yes,
It's
yes,
not about man, woman. It's not about male, female. It's
yes,
about two principles. It's about two energies that are active in every man and every woman, actually active in everything in this world, but
yes,
within each and every one of us, it is active. So just knowing what kind of energy am I allowing through me is the first step. Understanding that there are two energies that we're using, and one is latent, the other one is more on the surface, so to speak.
yes.
Just knowing which energy am I supposed to use. And I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I was very much in this feminine energy where it's very much about the emotions. I was living in my emotions.
Mm,
And as I grow older, as I become more wise, as I become more present in who I truly am, the more I am allowing the masculine energy to come in and balance the feminine energy. And that is when I start exploring this reality as a whole human being with confidence and control over my emotions. And that's what I think
mm,
we need to really dive deeper into this, how to use those energies
yeah.
in a way which is beneficial for yourself, but even for others, because your relationship between those two within you will be mirrored in your relationship to everyone around you. So
Mm,
just understanding where what energy am I using and when am I using it?
While you just said that, when I grew up, and I don't know if you've heard this saying as a child, I don't know if this is universal around the planet. That is a saying I know I heard it a lot at school and maybe in my home. But the saying that it's better to give than to receive. Have you ever heard this saying? Yeah, I always heard that when I was a kid. It's always better to give than to receive. It's always better to give than to receive. But that puts emphasis on one form of energy, and to give is the masculine energy, to receive is the feminine energy. And that, to ever say that one is better than the other, is to immediately put us out of balance, when it is best to give and receive and have no blocker for our energy in this flow, in this dance. And one of the things I've learned from my own journey, helping men heal a lot, doing a lot of men's work, is when men, and this is universal for men and women, but what I've seen is when men get wounded as a child, when they first get wounded, they learn that being vulnerable, which is our ability to receive, is not safe. So they close that up. And I always go on this side. They close that up, and then they're trying to take in the unbalanced masculine everything they can to satiate their inability to receive, because they're afraid to receive again. So that is too much in one gendered energy, just in masculine. And when they come back in courage and open back up and heal and realize that they are the one observing, they are the one in power, they are safe in this now moment, and they open back up, they can give, or they can receive, and they can give and they can receive, and that starts to flow. And it is such a beautiful transformation that they experience when they realize that vulnerability is the feminine energy to receive, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. It's about waking up the feminine energy within you, or allowing its flow through you. And as you were speaking, I remember I was watching a talk or an interview with Jordan Peterson, and he said one thing that gave me an aha moment. I don't even remember what he was talking about, but this thing really, he said that he was talking about sleeping beauty, being awakened by the prince, and he kisses her and she wakes up. And I was always thinking, why does she need to be saved by this prince? What is this? And he said, what if we look at this from a different perspective? What if this is an archetype or a symbol of sleeping beauty? If you're only in the feminine energy, you will be sleeping beauty. You will not see the world the way you're supposed to see it. And when you wake up the masculine energy within you, like the prince coming to kiss her, this is a symbol of the masculine energy waking, sleeping beauty up, so that she will be able to see the world with open eyes, so that she will be able to perceive the world fully. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is what age does to women. We are maybe sleeping beauties for a very long period of time, and that is painful. To be sleeping beauty is painful. You're not awake to neither who you are or where you're going or what you're doing. And then when we reach a certain age, we become more open to this, and we become more confident, and we know what we want. That is the kiss of that masculine energy, and we become balanced. And it's the same thing with men. They're probably sleeping warriors, and then when the vulnerable, whatever it is, energy comes to them, they wake up to a reality where they know that they have both these energies within them. It's not about becoming something that you're not. It's actually to become more of who you truly are. So you're not sacrificing your masculinity when the feminine energy is woken up within you. You're not sacrificing your feminine way of looking at reality when the masculine energy is woken up, because it's a question of how you use them. When I do a talk, for instance, it feels like horrific time before I go on stage, because it's always this tension of I want to succeed. And if I would stay in my feminine energy, that would say, you know what, don't do this. Go back home and go to bed. This is too emotional for you.
Yeah.
And that's when I wake up the masculine energy within me and I say, no, I have a goal and I want to go there and release all the knowledge that I have. I want to share this with the people. I have a desire.
Yes.
And I walk up on the stage. I am courageous and I'm strong and I do what I need to do. And then I can go back into whatever energy I want. But this is the way you use the masculine energy, which is a force, which is giving, which is goal oriented.
Yes.
And if you are not aware of that, this is an energy going through you. As a woman, you're not aware of that the energy is there for you to just pick it up. Well, then you miss the target. That's when you become Sleeping Beauty.
Mm.
And it's so beautiful to understand that there are two types of energies going through us.
Yes.
And we need to know which one. It's like each and every one of us have a unique mix of these energies, these two energies. And knowing your own unique mix and knowing how to use it is the key.
When I think I've mentioned this before on one of the lives. My wife and I went to a weekend meditation workshop, and she said to me, and this is, I don't know, a couple years ago, and this was a huge pivotal turning point in my life. She said, you say, because the 5 love languages book, I was handing that out to my employees. I wanted people to understand. And I was always saying my love language is words of affirmation. And she said in this workshop, she said, you say your love language is words of affirmation, but you are like a bathtub without a plug in its drain. And I can fill the bathtub up and it immediately empties. And she goes, and it's never enough. And I'm looking at her in this moment of truth, and she spoke the truth. And I realized that I was afraid that if I had dropped my last sheath of armor that I had held on, and it was thin, but there was a little bit of armor left, I was afraid that if I really exposed myself, not to her, but this was the imprint from childhood, that I would die, I would be killed, I'd be hurt beyond repair. And I looked at her and I realized in that moment, because I could not receive her love fully, it caused rejection in her, and rejection led to resentment. And in that moment, I realized the greatest act of love I could give my wife in the masculine energy was to receive her love in the feminine energy. And that goes back to the fulcrum that we've talked about, on the pendulum swing and the cause and effect. When we sit at that point, that is where feminine and masculine are one. And so we say this with my children, we say this in our family now, I receive your love. We say I love you a lot, but I look at my children, I receive your love. I receive your love. And that creates this beautiful, like, my love is enough. I am enough. I am in balance. What I give is received. And it's beautiful.
It is.
I feel it right now.
It's such a beautiful concept to say to someone, I receive your love, because if you're receiving it, then you're able to see who that person truly is. You're actually telling them, I see you, the real you, beyond all the filters and everything, when you say, I receive your love. And it's really, really beautiful to be able to do so. I mean, giving is one thing, but I think, as you said in the beginning of this Sunday live, that receiving is something that we're not taught. We're always taught to give, 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 and not to receive. But if you're just giving and never receiving, then there is an imbalance in this. That's right. It's about being focused on the masculine principle, which is about giving, and not acknowledging the feminine principle within you, which is to receive. And this goes for both men and women. It's not something about men only.
Right.
Women are always giving. They're almost never receiving, because we're not taught that there needs to be a balance, and that is love to say, I receive your love. That is to give them that love back. So it's such a beautiful concept. I really, really love that. I have to adopt it. Everyone listening out there, do this.
Receive your love. It's
Receive
interesting
your
that
love.
women do, and this, every one of us, this is not exclusive to men, but man has the Y chromosome, which is such a fascinating like picture, I think, in this whole model of humanity, because females have the two X chromosomes, and an X chromosome, if you just look at an X, it can receive on all four corners. There's an ability to receive and hold that container space. But the Y can only receive, I tell men, when it's in balance with the feminine and masculine energy. And if the feminine or masculine is not in balance, it just slides right off. There's no container to hold that space. And this doesn't have to be for men. Everyone can use this example. We have our arms up as a Y. That's how we receive, but our arms out also give to people. So it can be in a posture of giving. It can also be in a posture of receiving.
Yes. I've never thought of it. Thank you. I love that. I really do. It's beautiful. Well, what we're talking about here is actually understanding that there is a scale in masculine and feminine energy. When it is in a good place, the feminine energy, it is emanating unconditional love. When the masculine energy is in a good place within you, it is actually expressing strength, and that can be both a woman and a man expressing those things. But there are also a negative side to the masculine and feminine energies. So a feminine energy, the negative side of it, or let's say the immature side of it, would be the victim, the victimization. And the negative side of the masculine energy would be misuse of power, for instance. And this can be done both with men and women. It's not a specific thing, but it's a question of what energy you are allowing through you more. If you're a man, you're probably more prone to the masculine energy, allowing the flow of the masculine energy through you. If you're a woman, of course, the feminine energy goes easier through you. But when we balance those two, we become more mature in our ways of looking at reality. It's the immature ways that makes toxic masculinity, but there's also a toxic femininity in this too.
Yes.
And I think that it depends on what we've been through as children and the role models that we've had in our lives, and where we mirror ourselves towards these role models. That is what decides if there is a toxicity in it, or if we're actually having a divine force going through us.
Yes.
And that's an important thing, because that too makes an X. It's like masculine, feminine, mature, immature.
Yes.
And you can put anything wherever you want in this. And if society decides to label masculine and feminine energy as the toxicity of both, and not see that there is a divine part in it, well, then we miss the target again, because why are there a masculine and a feminine energy going through us? Because the masculine and feminine together, it's like yin and yang, it creates diversity. So you have two sides of one thing, and it creates diversity. And we can choose wherever we want to put ourselves in this diversity. If there is no masculinity or masculine, feminine, or masculine principle or feminine principle, well, there is no diversity, then we're all identical. So this creates the joy of exploring different types of, or different ways of exploring this reality. But I feel like when we talk about it, and this is why it's such a hot topic to talk about, because we are looking at it from its worst side, the toxic side, the immature expression of these two energies. The
Right.
mature expression is a man who can say, I receive you, I see you.
Yes.
That's that too is a masculine principle going, a
Mm.
divine thing in it. So
Hmm.
just to, cool things down a bit and say that there is a masculine and feminine energy going through us, and how we use them defines who we are.
Hmm. It's so fascinating. When we're talking about this, this word safety, the word safe keeps coming up. And I think everyone innately has this desire to feel safe,
Yeah.
but we can only feel safe when there's balance. If someone's overly one way or the other, we never will feel safe. And this, I think the world as a whole, there's many who are seeking safety, but are missing. And so I would call safety on the feminine energy of like receiving this outer force, protecting something's out there. But then that's out of balance. And then there are those that are ready to jump in the fray and jump in the mix, but they might be causing the lack of safety for other people. So I think that what I'm saying is there's the outer reality will always reflect the inner reality. And people that we all want to feel safe inside. We all want to feel safe, but the only way we can feel safe truly is when we are in balance with these energies. And when we're out of balance, we'll always look externally for something to satiate
Save
that
us.
which only we can satiate ourselves. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's about, a woman dreaming of a man on a white horse, like a knight, saving her from stuff. It's actually a projection of the energy that she's not acknowledging within herself.
Mm.
It is literally showing you that there is an energy that you're not acknowledging within yourself, because there isn't, while we're projecting this urge for safety to an outer savior that will always keep us in fear, regardless of if we're men and women, and we're actually putting a lot of weight on men's shoulders to save us, because it's not happening that way. This is why it is such a disappointment when we realize that he won't save me or she won't save me. I
Right.
need to save myself, and I do that by acknowledging that there is two energies going through me and they're intertwined, and when the dance, the rhythm of those two is beautiful, I feel safe. That doesn't mean that there is no, play between masculine and feminine energy, between men and women. It's supposed to be there for the joy of it. But it's when it becomes toxic. That
Yeah.
is when it destroys everything. And I think it becomes toxic when we're not aware of that we have both of these energies within us, when we're not acknowledging them. That is when it becomes toxic, because we identify only with one part of it, and everything else becomes alien to us and foreign to us, and we do not understand each other. Like in a marriage, let's say that the woman is totally in the feminine principle and the man is totally in the masculine principle, and both of them are actually expressing the toxic parts of these. So she would be in this submissive, victimized, emotional state of being all the time. He would be in a perpetrator, dominating, angry state of being all the time. And if you can just kind of dial it back and acknowledge that we have two energies going within us, it could be more balance in this. But the two people create a balance when you look at it from a higher perspective, because one is masculine and the other one is feminine. But in the real world, that means war, because they are not compatible. You need to balance it within you.
So good. So good. When they're out of balance, nothing is created except
No.
destruction.
Yes.
Yeah, we said war. It will always be war when there's not a balance of the feminine and masculine energy principle. Because this is why I love how you titled today balance, alignment, and unity. The unity brings creation. When something's united, that is something new. When we are in unity, that is something new that did not exist prior. We come together, we are in balance. And this is, it comes back to vision, it comes back to intention, it comes back to why we're here. Are we here to exist and get these materialistic forms of here you go and now be quiet and live your days and die and there you're forgotten? Or are we here to elevate, to bring forth, to create the new in humanity, the new earth, the new beauty, the new goodness that everyone, I believe, is craving? It's just, it can only be realized when we have this balance between feminine and masculine. And that takes healing, that takes courage, that takes intention, takes vision of what are we here for? What are we here to create in this world? And the byproduct, I think, is such beautiful peace.
And diversity above all. Yes.
Honor, that's it. Yes.
It's not about everyone being equal. It's not about we are all the same. It's a question of diversity, to be able to explore this reality through a filter of your own choosing. And how do you know where you are unless you acknowledge what the choice is? Where are the choices? I can choose to be in my feminine energy. I can choose to be in my masculine energy only if I acknowledge both of them. What we're doing in our society right now is that we are actually erasing both of them, which creates a state of one. It's only one state of being.
Yes. Yes.
How do you stay in your identity? How do you have an identity? We will all be identical otherwise. That's now fun, because I think it's fun to explore everyone the way they are. Yes. But the acknowledgement of the feminine and masculine principle within us, the receiving and giving principle within us, is crucial. If we don't do that, we do not understand who we are here. You know what? I was thinking while I was studying to become an art critic, we were talking about these principles, and one thing that I couldn't wrap my mind around at that time, and this was in my late 20s, was that chaos was regarded as the feminine aspect, and order was regarded as the masculine aspect. And this is true, only I could not grasp it. I was thinking, what does that mean? That women are always in chaos and men are always in order? And that is so far from the truth.
Right.
Because it's a question of how we label chaos. What is chaos? Chaos is not disorder. Chaos is the potential. Order is a specific thought or a belief, or literally an order and an intention. So if you want order out of chaos, the masculine principle needs to put the order, but the feminine principle is the all that is. The feminine principle is the substance into which this order is put. And that's how the order is the manifested thing coming out of the substance, which is the feminine principle. So you see how they work together. The chaos is not a negative thing. The chaos is all that is. The chaos is where everything is born out of. So that is why it is put on the feminine side, because it gives birth to this world. This world is the order, the thought, the belief system that is brought into reality through the substance. And that was an aha moment for me to realize that, okay, so I have been misinterpreting the chaos and the order. What is that? So just understanding these things, like for instance, when I was looking at kings and queens and how they were portrayed, I could see, for instance, that a king will always wear gold, and he would probably have a sun somewhere as a symbol, whereas a queen, his queen, would have silver, like the moon, the silvery light of the moon, and there would be a moon somewhere around her. And I was thinking, why is this so? Well, it is so because the masculine principle is connected to the moon and the sun. The sun gives the light, the moon receives the light and reflects it to the world. So there is a thought in all of this, giving and receiving, silver and gold, and there is no value in it. It's just a question of an interplay with these energies. And just understanding this gives you so much more choices.
Yes. Yeah. Freedom. Yeah.
Freedom.
Choice,
Yes.
freedom. There's a, I love it. Someone just said that this is a lovely discussion. Elizabeth just said, it's a lovely discussion, so illuminating with the balance of the yin and yang concept. Bravo, yeah. which is beautiful.
Yeah, I just need to say one more thing apropos this. It's like when we look at the chaos or all that is, or the substance, or the infinite intelligence in this substance, we could look at it as a book. So the feminine principle would be the pages in the book. The masculine principle would be the information on the pages. But you cannot have an information unless there is something to write it on. So you see how they so play together.
Yes.
And just to understand that there is this is not better than that. They are both needed in this world in order to create something in this world, to recreate yourself and to create reality around you the way it is. Go ahead.
Well, it gets back when we're talking about the fulcrum, the presence, to be aware that of ourselves, to have so much inner knowing, so much inner wisdom, so much inner understanding, to say, where am I lacking? Am I in balance of my ability to receive as I am giving, or am I lacking in giving, in receiving? And there's a song, I don't know if people know this watching all over the world, but there's a song, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. You know that song, this little light of mine. So I always think of light as fire, that's the origin. No one thought, at some point, no one thought of electricity or flipping on a light switch. When they thought of the concept of light, they synonymously thought of it as fire. And what kept fire on was oil, which is why oil is historically been, and I don't mean the oil that runs our cars, I mean the oil for lamps, has been the most costly and important thing society could have, because that kept the lights on. But I think of light, I think of fire. A fire consumes anything and everything that it's given. Everything. And the fire, there's a proverb that Solomon wrote, the fire that saith not, it is enough. Meaning there's no fire that says, oh, you've given me one piece of wood, I'm good, I'm going to burn forever. It will burn it. And then it's saying, and next, and it always needs to receive, to give, to emit light, heat. And from the light and heat that is emitted, it can only be emitting from its ability to receive. And I like to think of oil as the source. So if we're not tapped into source, if we're not grounded in understanding divinity and understanding what we are and who we are and why we are and when we are and where we are and so what that we are, to answer all those questions within allows us to remain in that beautiful place of source, which allows our light to shine. So when we say this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, we're really saying I'm going to receive constantly so I can emit constantly. I'm going to receive constantly so I can emit constantly. That's the whole concept of light.
Well, I love how you talk about fire, because fire is actually the masculine principle. It is a symbol of
Mm,
the masculine principle, whereas water is the symbol of the feminine
yes,
principle.
yes.
And if you allow that fire to burn very intensely and not balance it with the
Mm,
water aspect of
so
yourself,
good.
you burn up.
Yes, yes. You
Because
burn
there is,
others too. Yes.
yes, yes. So there is always this balancing thing going on. And as I say, I need to repeat this all the time. Those two energies are present in both men and women. It is
Yes.
not about, when I say that the fire is the masculine principle, it's not about that every man is
Man.
fiery and
Right.
he will burn himself to death and everyone else around him. What I'm saying here is that women and men can tap into these energies or use them in order to balance themselves in reality. I mean, if you're always in this water place, let's say that you're always like water, then you're always in the feminine principle and it will not lead you anywhere. You will be emotionally stagnating in that space. So
Yes.
using the symbol of the water and the symbol of the fire in
Mm,
your reality. But it's also about what is seen and unseen. The masculine principle is what you're expressing outwardly. The feminine principle is what you're
yes,
having within you.
that's right.
It
Yes.
is about the darkness and the light. The light that you're sharing with the world is connected to the masculine principle within you. The darkness that you have within you, it's not the negative darkness, it is the potential that is within you, is the feminine principle. This is why it is the hidden part of you.
Mm,
So just understanding how these
mm,
things play out, and it's within every man and every woman. It's it's I feel like it, just knowing this opens up so much. Just understanding it, not stagnating in it, but understanding it, that we are playing around with these energies all the time.
right. Which I
I,
think is why so much has been hijacked in our current
Mhm.
cultural narrative about the physical uh, relationship
Expression of it.
to expression of
Yeah.
genders and energy, feminine and masculine, when that's not the case. It doesn't matter about the relationship between two human beings. It matters, are those two human beings understanding within them there are two energies going on. If they're going to be out of balance,
Yes.
however they choose to express their life, if they don't have the feminine and masculine in balance, they will never feel that sense of creative, safe expression in this world, and to receive and just to
Mm.
be. That's the
Mm.
unity that we're talking about. That's the alignment that we're talking about, that we're never out of balance. We're never seeking from someone else that which only can be satiated from ourselves, going within and opening back up.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's about the seeking from the outside to
Mm,
balance what we feel is a lack within ourselves.
yes.
And again, there is another type of cross I would like to share here, and it's like the feminine energy here, the masculine energy here, and then we have the parent-child relationship. So
Mm,
there is a cross between those two. And if you are not aware of that you have both the masculine and feminine energy within you, and let's say that you come from an abusive family or childhood, you will always look for the authority outside of you, which will pull you down into a childish way of exploring this reality.
mm,
So it pulls you down into a toxic masculinity or a toxic femininity, which destroys you because you're not balanced in this.
mm,
So understanding that there is, if you become your own parent, like we do in our course, we want
yes.
people to become their own parents so that they will not explore themselves from a childish, not in a positive way, but in a negative way, childish perspective, where they are powerless and need help from the outside to, or be saved from someone from the outside. That's how you balance these two axes, so to speak, the masculine, feminine, adult, child thing, to find your balance in all of these
Mm.
different states of being.
And within that understanding that we are our own mother and father
Mm-hmm.
inside of us, and that we can look from both perspectives of what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
When we needed to be held, we can energetically hold ourselves. When we needed to be encouraged and given that hurrah, go out, you got it, nothing can stop you, then we give ourselves that. But that is all from our own inner working. And I think as we're talking about this, what a gift for humanity to awaken to really the potential within there. We are infinitely, the vastness of potential for us to create within us the life that we want, the peace that we want, the beauty and the wonder, and then express that externally in this world is unbelievable. If we just can detach from media, detach from the orders that
Mm-hmm.
may be good but may not be of your choosing, and if you are
Yes.
allowing someone else's order to pull from your potential and
Mm-hmm.
it's not of your choosing, then you have missed this entire point. And perhaps, which is why there are so many orders
Mm-hmm.
out there to allure us into that, oh, okay, thanks, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. No, what are you here to create and do?
You know, I was thinking about that order of chaos. I mean, order out of chaos.
Yes, yes.
I've never understood that before I started looking at the masculine and feminine principles. And I was thinking, whose order and what is the chaos we're talking
Yeah,
about?
right.
And now I understand that it is a desire, a wish, an intention, a thought out of all that is the potential. That is what it says. So it doesn't tell you, when you look at it, you might say, oh, but of course I want order. I don't want chaos. I want everything to be in order. That's not what this thing means. It
Yes.
means a certain desire, wish, thought, belief system out of all the possible belief system, thoughts, and desires that there are.
That is so good.
Who is doing that order?
Right.
Because that creates our reality.
It's so
And
interesting that word chaos feels, I
yes,
would hear it and it made me afraid, like, because I grew up in
yes.
frenetic just intensity. And I'm like, ooh, but the way you're explaining potential, like, okay, now this is such a beautiful understanding. The potential of
Well,
all that is. Yes.
yes, that is what chaos means. It does not mean anything else than that. That
Mm,
chaos means that it is packed with everything. There is nothing outside of it. And that is the feminine principle within each and every one of us, which means
so,
that when you know what the order is, your desire, that's the masculine principle. It will lead you to your goal. That's my desire. This is my order. And then there is this potential within me, which is the feminine principle, mirroring it back to you. This is why the feminine is connected to the subconscious mind, and the
mm,
masculine is connected to the mind.
yes.
And
So
I
cool.
mean, when you look at it at first glance, you might say, whoa, this is unfair. How come the feminine principle is nature, intuition? It has nothing to do with mind. Because we have both of them. That is why one side is this and the other side is that. They can't be both the same.
So good.
It's like
Oh,
understanding that, okay, I have a desire and the potential is within me. So how do I make that manifest in this reality? That is what order out of chaos means.
mm,
That is what it means. No scary thing at all in that.
no scare, no fear.
No,
Yeah,
no,
zero.
zero fear. Yes.
When I tell my children to tell my wife, I receive your love, it creates that space of their own safety for them to choose what they want to create. That they're never going to always be defaulting and giving to, is this enough? Is this enough? It's like, no, I receive your love. You are enough as you are. Now go into the world and create that which you want.
Mm.
And I truly, there are, so many schools I don't mean the public schools. I don't mean the system that people are raising
Yeah,
children in. I mean the schools of higher thought, the school
the
teach.
teachings,
There's
yes.
the wisdom teachings of
Hmm.
there is so much wisdom in this world that is reserved for those sometimes privileged, sometimes family structures. But when we can go and find it and seek it and understand that, what do I want to bring forth in this world? Why am I here? If I was born in the gutter,
Mm.
do I not have such a beautiful perspective to bring to the world, a perspective from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs? There were two preachers that started the first prohibition, or not prohibition, abolitionist movement in the United States. And they actually helped stop slavery in Great Britain before slavery was stopped in the United States. And it was John Wesley and George Whitefield. And George Whitefield became best friends with Benjamin Franklin.
Mm.
And Benjamin Franklin published all George Whitefield's pamphlets. But the interesting thing about these two men, John Wesley was born in a royal family in London. So I forget what, he was a line of the Dukes or something, but he has a royal bloodline. But he went and spoke to all the poor people of the world. Oh, he went to all the gutters. He went to all the slaves, and he spoke and loved on them. George Whitefield was born in the slums of London and became friends with George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and all the high ups. And I've always wondered why were both men necessary? Because both brought to this world a perspective and an understanding so that those in power could have empathy for those without, and those without could understand that they are empowered. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful concept.
Yeah, absolutely. What you're talking about is, or what I perceive you say, my
No, just tell me
interpretation of what you're saying.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. No, but what I hear you say is it's a question of openness,
Yes.
being open to things in your reality, not closing down to one certain belief system. Say,
Yes.
well, let's look at this. It might give me something
Yes.
more in this world. Also, what I've come to realize, and I've had a long relationship with my husband. We've been together for many, many, many years.
Mm.
What I've come to understand that the reason we are in relationships with other people is not to change them, not to convince them of our perspective. It is to broaden our own perspective. So if you're living with someone and you're open, you might have a bigger piece of the cake because you can enjoy the other person's perspective too, without the judgment, without the domination or submission or whatever it is. You're just looking through someone else's lens because that person who you live with is open and loving and allowing you to see
Mm.
the world through his or her eyes. And that is what it's all about. The relationship is about opening up so that you can see a bigger piece of this reality,
Mm.
so that you can look through someone else's perspective and allow them to have their perspective, not change it, just allow it to be there and say, that's interesting. I haven't seen it that way.
So good.
So this is what it's all about. Also,
Yes.
you were talking about receiving and how you are showing your children how to receive. This is such a gift to be able to receive.
Mm.
I remember myself as a very young woman, and if someone would say to me, "Oh, what a beautiful dress you have," I would say, "This thing, no, it's
Mm.
not
Yes.
beautiful."
That's right.
Took me years to get this, and now when someone says, "What a beautiful dress," I say, "I love it. I know it was a present
Mm.
from my husband, or I bought it yesterday and I love it." To stand in it and acknowledge it, just allow it to be what it is, not deny it.
This is, if we want to change the world for the better, this, what you just shared, is, I think, everything. If someone goes to open a door for you and say, no, I got it, what happens is they are in the place of giving, in the
Yes. And you're
masculine form of
denying
love,
them.
and you're rejecting it.
Yes. Yes.
And the blocking of the energetic love is systemic
Yes.
in our world.
Yes.
And what happens when we can understand and reclaim that if someone gives, to receive that love and say thank you and stand with them energetically with them and acknowledge that we were worthy of that love, that we received that because I'm worthy of being held the door open, or I'm worthy of someone affirming the dress because I'm wearing it because I am beautiful and I am this. And so when we can do that, the love flow, the ripple effect, the butterfly effect will continue. And I mean, I have chills. Dear brothers and sisters watching, to receive another's love is to continue the love being given throughout every relationship, every interaction, everywhere we go. This is how we increase the love and light in this world. And I grew up in this religious world very heavily. And I used to think, and I'm going to share something, just give it as a contextual story of what helped me change my perspective. But when I used to confess my sins to God and, oh God, forgive me, it was like me standing apart from God and like, oh, will you please? And then someone said to me, no, it's actually you standing with God and looking at that it wasn't the best. I'm like, God, that wasn't the best. And God's like, it wasn't the best. And I'm like, that's a different perspective than rejecting the giving versus standing with. And it changed my view of many things, but especially if someone compliments, to stand with the person complimenting and to see yourself like, it is a beautiful dress, which also somewhere energetically, the people that made it, the people that put their hands on it, the people that delivered it to the store where you bought it, the people that sold it, the people that it touches.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
Because you allow it through you and it becomes a part of this world and it can go to others. I was thinking about when someone opens the door and you say, I can do it myself, not wanting to receive it. This is like the wounded child that didn't get the love from their parents that it needed. Every child needs to be loved by their parents. Every child needs their parent to fall in love with them because it's a survival mechanism. And we fight for this as small children. And if we have great parents, everything is fine. But most of us don't. So this is a pattern that is repeated over and over and over again every time you deny someone who wants to give you something. So becoming more open to it, becoming more in your feminine energy, allowing it to touch you, receiving it without any judging in it. Because I know that when I speak to my husband and he says, you know what, I don't open the door for any women anymore, or anyone for that matter. I just don't, because they are all angry when I do it. He comes from Poland, and there is a tradition where men open doors to women. Always. It's kind of ingrained in their blood in a way, and everybody does it. No one says anything, and women say thank you, and everything is fine. But here, when he moved to Sweden, he said, I stopped doing this because I feel the anger coming back to me, like I'm trying to do something. I'm just opening the door, showing them respect, showing them I see you. I want to be there for you, not even help you. I just want to be there for you, acknowledge your existence in a way, like a parent would do, acknowledge your existence by giving you love. And it saddens me when I see this. See how he pulls it in and doesn't do it anymore. And why would it be wrong to share a loving act in the world? What are the forces that are making us do this? Why can't we do it?
Totally. But you see the rejection, somewhere, like my wife saying her words of affirmation weren't enough for me. That rejection from him turns into resentment. Not that it's a bad thing, but it just we become apathetic, like, okay, I won't
Yes.
do it anymore.
Yes.
And this is at the state of the world. And then
Yes.
the dark forces of this world take a snapshot of this
Mm-hmm.
and say, this is what's wrong with humanity. There's toxic this and that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
actually, we can eliminate all darkness if we turn on all light in
Yes.
the sense of negative, we
Mm.
can just start receiving and saying, thank you for my muscles didn't have to lift or
Mm-hmm.
work in that moment. You gave me rest, or you gave me reprieve,
Mm.
or this is where this is so good, where true gratitude is a state of gratefulness for all that I can receive,
Exactly.
so that I can give all that I have to bring forth the most beautiful light and love in this world.
You know what? The thing is to remember that there is this feminine principle within us, which is about the void, the vastness, the chaos, the subconscious mind, the intelligent, formless field, the source from which everything is born into this reality, which means that we are connected through the feminine principle within us, the feminine energy. We are connected to that always, which means that you can give and receive endlessly because you're connected to the source. When you know who you are, when you allow both the feminine and the masculine principle to play its role, the interconnected dynamics of this, when you allow that, you know that you can never be out of love. You can never be out of kindness. You can never be out of energy because
Yeah,
it's always there.
right.
It's when we disconnect from that part, the mother within us. I'm talking about both men and women.
Yes.
When we disconnect from that, that is when we think that I can't give anything because they will take everything away from me. So I need to hold on to it. That is to live too much in the masculine principle. So balancing those two and allowing that to be, also knowing how to direct it using the masculine principle, direct it right in the right way, in a non-toxic way, directing it. Bringing it in, using everything there is there, and then directing the energy. This is how we use them. I mean, you have all the potential and all the energy, the feminine principle, and then you direct it into the world, the masculine principle. Both men and women can do that.
Yes. This is by far one of my most favorite chats that we've done.
I know.
This
I
is
knew
so
that.
good.
I knew it
This
would
is
be.
so good.
You know what? Let's do, because I see that 1 hour has already passed, and it's mind-boggling how fast it goes.
Yes.
Give me a number, and I'll see if it connects to what we've been talking about, and we'll read from my book, like the last thing before we end the
First
Sunday
thing
live.
that came to mind is 57.
57. Let me see where we go with that. Oh, that would be.
And if you guys have not yet bought Gordana's book, please go buy it right now on Amazon or wherever you can find it. It's a life changer.
Here we go. This is truth thought number 57. Reality has no meaning of its own. You give it meaning by what you perceive and define it to be. Change your mind and everything changes. I hope that we have changed your mind so that you will understand that there are two energies and you can work with both of the energies. When you know this, everything changes on the outside. You allow yourself to dwell in both of them and know how to use them.
So good. Yeah. Oh, everyone, thank you so much for watching and joining us on this conversation. Gagan, Anne, Wendy, Elizabeth, C, Kara, Dawn, BG, Krishna, Suresh, and WW Collaborations. Thank you, everyone. And
hi, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yes, and we'll see you next Sunday.